So, as any real teacher can attest, at the beginning of the school year, there's just some housekeeping items that you've got to take care of. You've got to do things like take attendance, you've got to do things like dust off the blackboard, you've got to do things like clear out the nest of spiders that took up residence in the globe on the desk over the summer. You've got to extricate the skeletons of the kids who failed the final exam last June from the supply closet, that kind of thing. So if I do this, it's just going to work, and we don't really need to write any more code. Although you might want to write more code. I don't know why I said that. Why would you write less code when you can write more code? TG underscore whatever is pretty common. Anyway, next we need a file name or buffer or array of file names or buffers. I honestly think the name of the second argument to this function here is a little bit lacking because in addition to a file name or buffer or array of file names or buffers, it can also be an array of file names and buffers. You can mix and match. So what it really should say down here is file name or buffer or array of file names or buffers or array of file names and buffers. And I really hope that Yo-Yo Games gets around to fixing this incorrect documentation one of these days. So we will need a DS list for this. And I can say var hit list equals DS list create. I'm calling it hit list because I think that's funny. Alright, it really must be getting late at night because someone in that last batch of trick-or-treaters was definitely smoking weed. So to get started with source control, look at the top of the GameMaker IDE. You'll actually notice that there's a tab in the menu bar that says source control, and there's a couple of options underneath it if you were to open it up. And what we are going to do is we are going to completely ignore this because the GameMaker does have some source control-ish features built into it. It's not very good. I wish it wasn't there. And this is a nice looking splash screen, I have to say. So we can go and click I agree to the license agreement without actually reading it. I'm going to replace buffer save async with buffer save async. We're going to supply a callback function, and like I said, this is going to take 2 arguments. All of these sounds are like 0.2-ish seconds, so about between a fifth and a quarter of a second. And I'm going to, I think, set the delay to 150 milliseconds. And if we do that, it's going to sound a little bit more like a... I think I would consider that to sound a little bit more like a typewriter effect, even though it's not really a mechanical clicking. It's not quite as fast as if it sounds like a woodpecker just drilling away at a tree or something like that. Or in my case, the vinyl siding of the house right outside my bedroom window. Not looking forward to that as the weather warms up and the birds start to return from their southward migration. What was I talking about? So that's the delay. Maybe if you want it a little slower, 100 milliseconds of overlap. Now we need to write some text. What text do I want to write that I want to appear in the game? All right. Let me think about this for a few minutes. Do I really want to use like the generic "Hello World" text? I kind of don't want to. Alright, for no particular reason, I just borrowed some text from the Constitution of the United States. This is from Article 2, Section 4. It pertains to impeaching the president and other various elected officials who don't behave themselves. And that's going to be our dialogue that we show in the game. So if you ever want to annoy a fontographer or a graphic designer, ask them what kemming is. That's a bit of a graphic design joke because kerning refers to the spacing in between characters in text. And if you do it wrong, you can end up with situations where, for example, the word kerning looks like kemming because the R and the N are squished together. Another small detail that some of you might be interested and or concerned with. So GitHub, the website, is owned by Microsoft. GitHub Desktop, the software, is developed by Microsoft. Microsoft has been on a bit of a mission to make enemies with basically everybody as fast as possible in recent days. And now all I'm going to do, at least for now, is going to say part system draw it. The fact that they actually named this function draw it is just hilariously. They could have gone with part system draw, but they didn't. And let's say that I'm personally one who believes that like the rainbow and wave tags are like violence. If they don't solve your problem, you're not using enough of them. But typing this out and typing out like the cancel rainbow. Oh my god. None of you are ever going to take me seriously again. So I have a /wave set to an auto hotkey script on my computer to turn into this Kamoji when I type it. And makes it a little hard to cancel the rainbow wave tag. This is a very me problem. Anyway, since I don't really know what else to draw, I think I'm just going to give this one a blue fill. Now maybe we can go and... I drew a smiley face in the last one, so I think we can give this guy a little frowny face. But usually you will see a for loop formatted like this. There exists some really cursed code out there, which does some very unusual things with the for loop, particularly the update condition. If you ever see something that looks super weird like that, just know that the person writing it probably got dropped as a baby, and that doesn't mean that you necessarily should write your code like that too. Let's see. Let's set the palette index to just this this variable that I've set here. Now when we hit the spacebar, we'll cycle the duck palette instead of toggling. So yellow, green, blue, and demonic black with glowing red eyes. All right, I think that's a pretty good color scheme for a duck. Actually, I'm gonna see if I can talk Moonin into rebranding Wizarducks to use that. This is a video that I've been putting off making for really years because I've been hoping that GameMaker would eventually get around to adding a function to the runtime to do this automatically. But they keep not doing it, and because I've made, at this point, several videos that have been pretty much instantly obsoleted by a GameMaker update, I'm hoping that by making this video, I'm able to tempt fate and make that actually. The fun way to explain the difference between Git and GitHub is to say that Git is to GitHub what porn is to, by default, will give you up to 8 viewports. They're indexed 0 through 7 because there are 2 hard problems in computer science. One is asynchronous netcode, another is p equals np, and the last is off by 1 errors. Will GameMaker actually, like, automatically unload the higher MIP levels that you aren't using? So, apparently, Windows Task Manager has for some time now, and I never found out about it, Windows Task Manager has for some time now frozen on me. Turning it around, so we're going to be saying the abs check ob method is going to be return ob.check ab self, and the fact that I get to say that out loud once in my life just makes me the happiest Dragonite. I like to say the word degenerate. It's fun to say out loud. It's a fun sounding word. I should say it more often. It makes it sound like this Vector 3 like got in trouble at school or something like that. Again, you could pick any direction arbitrarily and give the one sphere a kick in that direction, but I'm just going to return undefined. I don't know why I'm using like the kick idiom so many times in this video. I guess I'm pretending that the sphere is like a basketball and the thing it's colliding with is my foot or something. By the way, don't ever play basketball with me because I don't know any of the rules. And once again, we're going to do the same on the other axes. XYZ, XYZ, XYZ. By the time I'm finished with this, none of these are going to sound like real letters anymore. GameMaker's audio listeners are default oriented upside down. It's a little bit silly. If you go into the manual for the page on audio listener orientation, you can find perhaps what is the funniest image in the entire GameMaker manual.